Okay.
Good evening and welcome to Committee on Ordinance. The time is 5:39 and the date is March 31st, 2025. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Chairman Pedro Espinal,
Present.
Vice Chairwoman Sherry Peterson,
Present.
Councilwoman Mary Kay Harris is absent, Councilman Oscar Vargas,
Present.
Councilor Justin Reyes.
Present.
We have 4 present, 1 absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you so much, and I'd like to welcome Council President Miller for joining us tonight for City Institute. Thank you. Madam Clerk, what item on the agenda, please?
Item number 1, an ordinance amending chapter 16, offenses and miscellaneous provisions. Article 1, in general, section 16-21, law or under.
I know what she's saying, my name.
Publicly consent, and section 16-22, chronic nuisance properties of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Providence.
Thank you. My apologies, also like to recognize my dear colleague, Councilwoman Vargas.
Yeah, I sit right in the house.
It's great to have you here. Thank you. All right, so item number 1, I have a letter of testimony from the ACLU, so this will be exhibit A. Let's put a motion to add exhibit A into the record.
So
Second, Councilor Peterson, second by Councilor Vargas, and favor aye. Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you. And I also have an amendment to item number 1. The sponsor, Councilor Peterson, would you like to speak about the ordinance?
Absolutely. As indicated, there is an amendment on this. What I actually like to do, is strike section C in its entirety. I think right now, there's a better place for this particular, request in policy that we're creating. So I would love to hold off on that particular piece for the current moment, but still maintain, section on the second page, section 20, which is the service of alcohol tonight.
Okay.
Substitute first.
So
We have a motion to substitute first before we do that amendment.
it's your motion.
Substitute,
to include this bill and then
Got
make
it.
that.
and then
So we
we'll
need
do
to-
that.
We need to, I'd like to make a motion to substitute this, I don't know what amendment this is. Or-
This would be a sub A. I think.
Sub A.
First, yeah.
Sub-A.
Thank you.
So I'll entertain a motion to substitute sub-A.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Reyes, and second by Councilor Vargas, all in favor aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it.
Now I'd like to motion to strike section C from this sub A. And only maintain section 3.
Motion is made by Councilor Vargas, second by Councilor Roy, all in favor aye. Opposed, the ayes have it.
Thank you.
So would you like to tell us a little bit in general about your proposal?
Sure, absolutely. So as we continue to work on how we can improve on certain ordinances, one of them that comes to mind, in my particular area happens to be around alcohol and alcohol tonight. It's not necessarily something that is easily, you can't easily take advantage of the moment with open containers and things, and there's certain structures to the law that we need to make sure that we continue to abide by. However, we do see a chronic and continuing nuisance in our areas, in my area specifically, that deserves to be addressed. So my request is that we simply add a very small addition to the chronic nuisance ordinance that just adds the service of alcohol to minors in the events that should there be a continued issue of that we can recognize and hold accountable, that these properties become chronic nuisances in the within the city guidelines of what the ordinance says.
Thank you. Any questions for the sponsor? Councilor Vargas.
Thank you. These particular change is going just for your area in the particular college area, or is going citywide?
This would actually be citywide.
It's going citywide. The reason I asked the question is because I do have some procedure that they very worried about the loud music and they call the police several times and they come, as soon as they go, they put the music back again. It's a cat and mouse play. So they go, we know the music, yes, we know the music, but as soon as the cruiser is around the corner, they're back again. And hopefully this type of ordinance will help the community.
As it relates to just the service of alcohol to minors, if that's something that's happening, then absolutely. The purpose of this particular one is just to, it's clear as day that in my neighborhood, we have a very large density of student housing. While the college has made it, a rule that students, that are not seniors cannot live off of campus with an exception to a few here and there. We do see that there is a continued component of, and an ongoing discussion about arrests and things that are, situations that are being handled that have to do with underage drinking. And one of these issues happens to do with a continued concern of chronic nuisance in specific areas that perhaps the students actually don't even live in because they're not necessarily living off of campus currently. However, it does become a problem on the city streets. And so what we want to ensure is that should there be a continued problem with a home that has been with proven documentation confirmed as an issue where there is there's serving of alcohol to minors, we can actually address it from chronic nuisance.
Anybody else? Here none, here an objection, entertain motion to approve as amended.
So. Second.
Made by Councilor Arroyo, second by Councilor Robbins, all in favor, aye. Aye. Oppose, stay, the ayes have it. Item number 1 is approved. Madam Clerk, item number 2, please.
Item number 2, an ordinance amending chapter 16 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Providence entitled Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, amending section 16-128 entitled Appeals.
Thank you, and we also have an amendment for this. So motion to amend.
So
Second, for Peter, second by Councilor Vargas, on favor, aye. Opposed, the ayes have it. And we have the sponsor, our council president. Would you like to speak on this?
I'm happy to, or I might pass the torch to Aaron. I'm like, oh, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so this ordinance would address an ongoing issue that, we've had here in the city in terms of, alarm fees being issued to alarm users is one of the, the terms of art here. With the ordinance and the way that is currently constructed, the police department, issues fines starting at, I believe, $100 all the way up until $500 for, individuals who do have, alarms that go off and there's actually, no emergency. But the issue with this is the way the ordinance is currently constructed, anytime there is an appeal, it's handled by the police department and an administrative officer, which, is confusing language, at least, from the perspective of the court. And what we did here is we've, basically streamlined it. It made it very clear that there was even language that said, certiorari for the district court. And that's a legal term that sends things to the Supreme Court. So all of that was wrong. And what we're doing is making sure that the appeals process is governed and constructed all by the municipal courts. So what it is when individuals do have an issue where they may have moved into an apartment and there's an alarm installed, rather than them getting fines and fees for, having false alarms, it's something that they might not even know exists. It allows the court to determine on a case-by-case situation whether to, dismiss or move forward as they do with all of our, ordinances in our code. So it is basically bringing it within the court to give them authority to deal with each item on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you.
May I follow up,
Um,
Mr. Chairman?
yes,
For tag team it, I think we've all probably gotten that call from a resident who has the fee and doesn't know, like, there's a very opaque process to deal with it. I've gotten complaints from residents who have no alarm but are still getting the letter, like,
right.
so making it clear that it's the court, our local municipal court that handles this process is a good benefit to residents. There's also the ability for the city to then collect the fee. So there's a potential revenue, but certainly very direct communication to our residents who I've had trouble figuring out where to send people, like when they have this problem, like I've had trouble correcting it for them. So thank you.
Thank you. I had an opportunity to read on it and to speak to Aaron about, I think, the great ordinance, amendment. So I thank you for that. Councilman Roy, do you have a question?
Yeah, just, I don't know if Aaron or the council president can just elaborate on, how this, more about the constituent concern and when they got this, I'm just.
So an alarm goes off, sorry, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. An alarm will go off and the police will come. And if it's like a false alarm, you get a thing in the mail that's $100 fine. And there's no person at the other end of that. There's no way to address the fine. There's no way to stop the fine. There's no way to appeal the fine. There's no way to even like make sure it doesn't happen again, because to Aaron's point, like, someone moves into a building where there is an alarm, they don't have the code, they don't have the alarm, they don't have the contract with the company. And then they're stuck in this weird maze and there's no one to talk to at the other end.
Got it, got it. Thank
It's
you.
also a 30-day appeals process, which is pretty good. That's my body.
Thank you. Yeah. Question to the
Go ahead.
when you're talking about this regular alarm or fire alarm, like what kind of alarm?
So, I think the biggest company that we're aware of is like ADT, right? But any, like, corporation, that does these, they would, be governed by this, ordinance. So, basically, any one of those alarm companies, they have the alarm. But I think one of the big issues too is the fact that the way, and this is something that we may address down the line with me speaking with the clerk on the court. It doesn't actually specify that it is something that should be charged to the property owner or whoever administers the alarm. It just allows an alarm user to be billed. And that's one of the biggest, problems that the court has, just being an individual, unknowing on what is installed, what have you, and then just to have those fees, and then there's no recourse. Or the recourse that they do have is kind of tied within the district court. And as much as we sat down to look at it, just doesn't make any sense. But there might have been another piece of your question. I'm sorry, I was taking a note at the same time. Did I answer that?
It's the private alarms that people install in their homes.
Yeah.
The private alarms people install in their
Right,
homes from
okay,
any
yeah.
company.
Yeah.
So it could, it could be police, it could be fire, it could be break-ins, it could be,
Thank you. There's any way that we should have, according to the ordinances, you saying the first sign in the police goes by will be enforced on.
Mhm.
Is any somewhere we can say like the first one will be warning
So,
and the second one will be like, the second one will be a false alarm, then you get a ticket.
Mhm.
Because you don't know why the alarm went off, right, at first.
Yeah.
So the police responding to the alarm that's calling to, or something, so the police goes, okay, there's nothing happened, but let's send a letter, like, they got the record that the alarm went off once.
Mhm.
So the second time is when the police should act and say, and send a ticket out saying, look, this is the second time,
Mhm.
you didn't have 30 days to fix it, so this is your fine.
Yeah, I'll comment, Councilman, I'll say that within the larger ordinance, I do believe that, you actually do get one false alarm that they wouldn't actually charge you. So the first one
Okay.
it is actually a warning. But I think, that is at the discretion of the police department, right? So given that is at the discretion of the police department, I think what this ordinance does is balance it and give further discretion, to the judge. So if it is the second, warning and there are, other factors in there, the judge can consider that, they could, reduce it or completely throw it out. So to answer your question, the first one is a warning, but this just also gives that difference so that if it is the second one or the third one, based on the whole facts of the situation, the judge can throw it out.
Right, can I?
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
Because these are kind of alarm system that we have, they have those motion sensors. So delicate that a mouse can trick it.
Yes.
A little mouse can go and trick the alarm and goes on.
Yeah.
And so we have to like, know, not to go hard at the beginning.
Mhm.
And like see what's going on first and then to act.
Absolutely, and allowing, this ordinance would allow for people to bring into the court those specifics as why this happened, and allow for more.
If they catch the mouse, they can bring it to court.
Sorry, Council President.
No, it's fine. The first time that this came up, with being a constituent, it turns out that there was a cat, not the owner's cat, just some cat that got into the house through the basement and was setting off the alarm. So like, that is a real thing. And they just had no way to deal with that. Like, they had no one to talk to. It was like a blank wall of the district court on this issue.
Hey,
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, so after hearing all testimony, and I think it's a good ordinance, so I'll entertain a motion to approve as amended.
Someone.
Second by Councilor Peterson, second by Councilor Roy. All in favor, aye. Opposed, nay, we have had it. Okay. Item number 2 is approved. Madam Clerk, item number 3, please.
Item number 3, an ordinance amending chapter 23 of the Providence Code of Ordinances, streets, sidewalks, and public places, section 23-171, reserved to add section 23-171, temporary parking areas during winter storms and other emergencies.
Thank you. And we also have an amendment for this, and I'd like to get a motion to it into the record,
Someone.
second.
Favor Peterson, and second by Councilor Vargas, all in favor, aye. Opposed, yes, that is, thank you. Mr. Roy, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is we just said this is a meeting tonight that a lot of the ordinances that we're seeing really sort of hits at the really kitchen table issues, which I absolutely love. This ordinance before us, I think, does something similar. If passed in its current form, the city of Providence would be mandated to create temporary parking spots during snowstorms or other emergencies when there's a parking ban in place. DPW would at least would pick one location in every ward where people can park overnight if there's a citywide parking ban due to snowstorm. These temporary spots can include city parks, city-owned parking lots, and certain streets. I believe the amendment says that by March 1st, the city would have identified 7 locations. Obviously, we're past March 1st. And by December 1st, 2025, there would be 10 locations. DPW would be responsible of writing the rules on how this will work. We give DPW that flexibility. And once those rules are created and the list of parking areas are decided, the city would be mandated to publicly make that available online. Why this matters to me is that residents are not allowed obviously to park on the streets, so plows can clear snow. But many residents in our city don't have driveways or garages, and they can't afford to pay for private garage parking every time it snows. This obviously creates real hardships for working families, seniors, and renters who end up with nowhere to put their cars. They risk tickets and towing. And I would like to add one empirical data point, is that the last 2 years, and I don't think this city prides itself on this by all means, which is why we're doing this. But the last 2 years, when we enforced the parking ban, we have towed over 500 cars in the last 2 years. So that's why I'm proposing this, because I don't think that's a success in anyone's eyes. I also want to mention that we're seeing new development continue in our city. There's an increase in the number of residents and cars. And there's less available street parking in high density neighborhoods. And so where are folks gonna put their cars? And so as development increases, we at least need to alleviate this burden. And it's not a silver bullet by any means, but it's a step in the right direction. And so this is gonna give residents more options and help keep our streets safe during winter storms and other emergencies. And the other point Chair want to mention is that when we talk about other emergencies, we might talk about flooding, where we're getting an increase in flooding in our neighborhoods. So this would give an example of the city, the ability to implement parking ban during flooding. Also, one more point is that in terms of collaboration, this was done with the mayor's administration, which I appreciate. So I want to thank Mike Napolitano, the director of DPW, Public Property, and of course, I'm. Is he there? Is he hiding? Oh, okay. So yeah, that's what I'll say about that.
Very good. Any question for the sponsor? Councilor Martin?
So we don't have no ideas what parking lots we don't have to up yet.
No, I think that, my hope is that they will consult with the individual counselor, before going public. That's my expectation at least, about this, so that that you could, have some say in that. I know that the administration already reached out to me to have those conversations about what that would look like on Ward 4. And so I'm assuming they're gonna reach out individually as well.
Okay, because the ordinance is great. But the issue I see is like, let's say DPW pick up my school. I got 2 schools in my area.
Yeah.
They don't have a big parking lot.
Right.
So they will put 10 cars in the school. And then the owner of the car will forget to go get a car next day, and then we have school next day because the snow day passed. Who's going to be responsible for that car?
Yeah,
And then the school department will say like, I have to call the tow truck and get it out of the parking lot because we need a parking lot.
yeah. That makes,
It has to be like wider street would be the best, like Webster Avenue is wide enough that DPW might say, look, use the right side to park. And then we will clear the whole rest of the street,
yeah,
and you won't get no ticket, no tow truck will come and pick it up from that area. And will be a great idea to have signs, like parking bans from here all the way to the end, or like this much number all the way in the end, but wider streets only. So narrow street, the 2 car department won't be able to
yeah.
go by.
I do think that they have something in place, and a way to identify what area would be best for this. Actually, in the last couple of snowstorms that we had, there was a certain area that was designated for this. So what the council is doing right is actually codifying ways that we already have and expanding that.
Right.
We have had this in my ward for the last 5 years. Everybody knows they can park on Miller Avenue because it's pretty wide and there are signs there. So I think it's great that you could take it citywide and people should know where to park in case of a storm. People will go on organized. Councilman Peterson?
Yeah, thank you.
I was actually thank you very much. I was actually wanting to hear a little bit about the success of what areas already had something like this in play and seeing kind of if there was any sort of feedback that anybody could provide for those specific areas. I think you might have one as well, right? Council President? Yeah.
Could I, if
Sure, go ahead.
just a response to the great points you made, Counselor, is, in my conversations with, the administration, that we would, technically city-owned parking lots would count as, for schools, right? I think that the conversation I've had with the administration that, we would avoid schools at all costs. The second thing is, since the rules are not, in this ordinance, And we give DPW that flexibility. An example, my expectation is that there would be some, time limits in the ordinance, so in Pawtucket. And this is kind of like what I would like to see as well. And but in Pawtucket, they have a similar program. And residents, are mandated to, essentially, take their car out of that city designated lot within 2 hours after the ban has ended. And if you don't, you will be subjected to a tow. Now, I think at first, when we roll this out, it's gonna get, residents are gonna have to get used to that, but I do think over time, that will be sort of a learned behavior. I think the other point, the other point I want to mention is obviously we have streets here. And so in conversation, when the administration reaches out to you, says, what's your input? We have in this ordinance designated streets possibly that could be identified instead of like city-owned lots such as schools.
Thank you.
Unless you wanted to, oh, sorry, I didn't know if you wanted to give the feedback on that.
I'm happy to.
Go ahead.
It's great. I mean, so right now, the area around Dexter Park is as designated, and then I feel like we added Washington Park the year after that,
Right.
Miller Ave. It's wonderful. The word's gotten out. The last time we had a snow emergency, cars were lined up down Parade, up Hollywood, down Dexter. It was great. It's a pretty densely populated neighborhood. There's a lot of triple deckers. People don't have adequate parking. I agree that taking it into a school lot, it means that you can't clean the school lot, so that's not gonna work. But the streets wider streets work really, really well. And it's Tier's statistic earlier, the 500 tows. They actually stopped towing because they ran out of space in the tow yards. So it's not even that it's that like you tow 500 cars because people have no place to go, and that's terrible because then people have to pay the tow fee.
Right.
But then you can't clean the streets anyway because there's still cars littering the streets because there's still ways to go.
Wow, I
Yeah.
did not know that.
Yeah.
Thank you for
The
sharing that.
beauty of your car towed is an average of at least $250.
Yep.
More than that.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, depends of the day.
That's one Roberts.
Yes, it's only common because when I moved in New York here is like transition. And because I moved in here because the parking, when you park in your. So now, couple years. I see more people parking outside, they don't have enough parking to, get dress up for that. So. For my street, it's very small, very narrow. People have to, put in the top. For example, in my house, I have a 4, 5, 6 kids. So now grow up, everybody have their own car. We don't have enough space.
Right.
That's the population now is grow up more. And then we have to think about this. So now, so you have a little piece of land, people construction one other house, because not have any parking. Because I have one issues in my city, in my area for Ward 7, so building 3 level 6 or 8 units, but no one parking lot, so where's all this car have to go? So have to be dressed out before to building something, because that's the population. For example, in my house, I had only 2 cars, so now we have 6 cars. So it has to be related to the population growth before that. And then so many streets is very narrow. So, and that's the problem that we have right now. Okay, you can move it for some all the way, can you take it the car and not have any space because we have more car. That's my only comment.
All right, thank you. If there is no further comment, I'll entertain a motion to approve as amended.
So move.
Second by Councilor Peterson, second by Councilor Rogers, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the ayes have it. Item number 3 is approved. Madam Clerk, item number 4, please.
Item number 4, ordinance amending chapter 15, motor vehicles and traffic, article 12, weight limits, section 15-132, the Providence Code of Ordinances.
Thank you. So Councilor Ryan cannot be here tonight. But I'll call on our policy director, Aaron Gardner, to give us a brief on this.
So, Chairman, what I would do is I actually asked Miguel to join us, our deputy
Absolutely,
director.
why not?
He worked directly with Councilman Ryan on this. She asked if he would come and speak on the item for us.
Good evening.
Good evening. I can just jump right into it. It's pretty straightforward. This is a weight limit for Pleasant Valley Parkway. Just for a little context of what that street is like. It is an entirely residential, this would only relate to an entirely residential portion of a street. And if you're not familiar with the ward, it is parallel with Chopstown. And it has a tendency to be treated as a top route. It's like sort of how to avoid traffic and people go flying down it. It actually is a city park. And there's some other like very quirky features about it, interesting features. It's a watershed of the Woodstock Pawtucket. And it's actually the largest portion of that watershed that actually makes ground, like you can see the water in the middle of the neighborhood. And why this is important is that contributes to the ground is like soft, like around it. So there's a couple things that the trucks are disrupting. One, the road crumbles quite a bit because of the softness of the watershed. And it has a very, like it's got a thick canopy. There's a lot of trees down this road, and the trucks also rip all the branches off and what have you. And it's a bike. Councilwoman Ryan tells me it's the first bike lane in the city. I think that might be true. I didn't fact check that, but I believe it. It's a city park, and the bike lane goes down it. The speed limit's 15 miles per hour. And everywhere that you're going to, how do I put this? Where you're trying to get to when you're taking Pleasant Valley Parkway, there are ample other roads that you can take, including Chalkstone, including Smith Street. So she decided to introduce an ordinance to institute a weight limit on the road. And there's one consideration that was made is that the Veterans Hospital is there right at the end. And there's another road, I believe it's called Rosebank, that can actually, and we discussed with the hospital, and this wouldn't interrupt their deliveries or like his trucks when they service the hospital. There's like a little road that they can come in and out. So. Yeah, these out ahead.
Any questions?
Sorry. Can you go back, and I interrupted you, so I don't think you were
Sure.
able to finish your thought properly. Tell me a little bit about Rosebank and what the request is for that particular.
Well, because there was. One concern was that would this somehow impact the hospital? We actually reached out to the hospital and we looked, and where they deliver. There's actually a separate road that leads into that. So say you say there's a weight limit on Pleasant Valley Parkway, it won't even impact this road. And when you look at it on the map. It almost looks like it's the same road, it's technically a completely different road that they just service in and out of, just to get into the back. And you're probably familiar with them, I'm sure you can like see where they kind of loaded, and it's actually not in Pleasant Valley Park.
Which is why I'm asking, is it Rosebank Drive or Rosebank Avenue? Because Rosebank Drive is a cul-de-sac per se, and that's just residential area. So
Yes,
you're
it's not
asking
Rosebank.
that. Okay.
Yeah, it's Rosebank Path,
Okay. Then never mind.
yeah.
Councilman Robbins, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Can you explain what is, how big is a truck of 15 tons? Like,
Well, 15 tons, this is consistent with the portion of the code that sort of dictates weight limits on roads anyway, so it's just, this was already pre-established in the code.
Yeah, I almost want to say, so the 15 tons, that's, as you can see, it's the same, language that we used when we added it to the east side, close to the Washington Bridge. I understand that as being like the full, trucks with the full flatbed. I mean, I almost want to say those are the 18-wheelers, those are the ones that are being, blocked.
Right.
But in terms of like, the small box trucks for deliveries and stuff, those wouldn't be affected. And then additionally too, within this chapter, there are.
Exemptions for-
Yeah, there are exemptions for.
Trash pickup and stuff like that.
Yeah, and emergency, you know, vehicles and vehicles that are contracted by the city, for some specific reason, the city needs them to go there, they would be exempt from any fines or anything like that.
Mainly the big delivery, kind of 60-wheelers.
So will be exceptions for delivery trucks,
Yeah, for
that they can come in like, the better after is doing construction now, they bring in those huge generators that they weigh at least 20 tons.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, vehicles owned and operated by the state of Rhode Island and state of Providence or vendors contracted by the state or city, they'll be exempt from that. So for whatever reason, if the state, or, you know, the city needed that type of truck to go there, they are completely exempt because it was mandated by the city as a necessary.
So
transport.
what we try to do is to avoid any truck driver who wants to cut, you know, go to the
Exactly.
city, to cut through.
Indeed, and that
So
was one of
the
the
end
issues.
crews, so those 16 footers, those are end crews, it's a little box truck,
Mhm.
they don't go 15 tons.
Yeah, no.
We're talking 18 wheels and 56 square feet, that's the long one, the long box, those are the heavy ones.
Yes, exactly.
And so basically, what we're trying to say with this ordinance, like, if the police enforce this ordinance, will ask, are you doing delivery or are you going through? If
Right.
the driver's going through, he might get a ticket, if not,
I will say that when we did deal with this as it related to the Washington Bridge, we did have questions like that. And at least it was the police department that they stated that they would be training their officers on this, so we can circle back to make sure they're aware of it on the Washington Bridge as well. I mean, if there's an errant officer who is not up on his game and issues someone a ticket or citation for this, it would get thrown out. But it would be an inconvenience that they would have to go to the court to speak and say, I had a delivery and this shouldn't have stuck. So it's all about the police officers having that training.
right? And those, they communicate with Councilman Don Carlos, because I see some trees belongs to.
That was already.
Oh, yeah, that happened when the Washington Bridge happened, the administration did work directly with Councilman Goncalves, and they brought that to us. And honestly, a lot of this, the work was already done because this came from the law department and the schools that worked on it previously.
So just, we're only adding, Pennsylvania Parkway.
Right.
And those are ones that are familiar with that area, it's more like a park, it's a residential area.
It is very much so.
It technically is a park.
Exactly, so it's not, and also we enjoyed Councilwoman Ryan's Christmas on Parkway.
Right. With the horse and buggy.
Council President, please.
Yeah, a quick question for our policy team, is there a typo? Should the number 4 and 5 be letters E and F as part of part 3?
They could, no, I mean, I think that's a matter of style. I think that they could have been added, but I do think that then those independent positions, I think they were fine. But you do have a lot of parking here. They have.
The only reason I ask is because they're as standalones, I don't know what they're saying. Like the section shall not apply to, and then it lists the letters of the things that shall not apply, and then there's 2 separate numbers that aren't under that, so. But I think we mean for them to be exempted too.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this number, those could land under those, the letters as well. Yes, as you know. Yes, so I think that we can verbally fix that before it comes out of committee, and then we can have it appear as that way when it comes to the floor. Thank you.
Right, anybody else?
Do we need to amend that, or can
We
we,
do.
not just a little? Literally.
So, what will the amendment be then?
A motion to strike numbers, just the numbers 4 and 5, and changing them to E and F under section 3.
Yeah.
I think Nick had it like that from the beginning, so I think.
Yeah, I didn't, we didn't make that change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to throw Nick under the bus.
So I'll make the motion, Councilor.
I'll make the motion, I'll strike numbers 4 and 5 and change to E and F under section 3.
There's a Councilor Pettis, second by Councilor Rogers. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Have it, amended. So, and I'll entertain a motion to approve as amended.
So.
Lawyer, second by Councilor Wyder, to declare it aye. Oppose? Abstain? The ayes have it. Motion, the bill 16. Madam Clerk, item number 5, please.
Item number 5, an ordinance in amendment of Article 23rd of Chapter 2nd of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Providence entitled Capital Center to repeal the establishment of the Capital Center Commission.
Thank you. All right, so,
Yeah. I can make some comments on this. So the background on this is, a couple of things. Well, the first thing is that, this was an initiative from the administration that the council agreed with. And within, the enacted comprehensive plan, we spoke to, repealing the Capital Center Commission and moving, those responsibilities and powers down to the, what is it called, the Downtown District Review Committee. So basically, that this is running in parallel with, legislation at the State House. And there's an exception in this ordinance that it will not become active until the state passes the same, and it is well on its way. But just some of the background there is, in 1981, there was a bill passed at the General Assembly, and it was for special development districts. And just over time, I think we've recognized that it's just a difficult construction to have, and we do have a committee that can do all of that work. So repealing this would transfer all of the duties and authorities to the Downtown District Review Committee. And that's what it does. It basically takes away a duplicative body that's also doing the same work. So that's the background on that.
all right, thank you. Very well said. Anybody on this? Hey, we're not, I think it's pretty straightforward. So I'll entertain a motion to approve. Second by Councilor Peterson, second by Councilor Vargas, so it's aye.
Aye.
Oppose, same, the ayes have it. Number 5 is approved, thank you. Madam Clerk, item number 6, please.
Item number 6, an ordinance amending Chapter 2 Administration and Chapter 21 Revenue and Finance of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Providence.
Thank you, and we also have a substitute for item number 6. So I'll entertain a motion to, enter into the record, so they. Second by Councilor Vargas, so in favor, aye. Opposed, abstain, the ayes have it, thank you. Aaron, would you like to also speak on this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Council President.
The intent of this ordinance is to address, I think we've all sort of seen over the last, really since 2020, a real change in the shift of who owns property in the city of Providence. And during 2020, the city began online tax sales. So during COVID, when people could not gather in person. In other cities, and the policy team did some really excellent research and can share possibly tonight. Some of the ways we've seen that play out in Providence, the aggregation of houses away from individual owners and into corporations. However, so this ordinance really does 2 things, right? It says, the initial one said that we would move away back to in-person tax sales only. Tonight, we're amending it because the tax collector had a family emergency. So we really want to have her weigh in on this proposal. It's also right around the corner from when tax sales happen, right? Tax sales happen at the end of May. And so we really want to have an opportunity to make sure that we're putting something in place for this year. And then we can work with the tax collector when she's available to change it for the future. So given that, the substitution removes the online tax sale portion and keeps the piece around making sure that an individual or an individual corporation can't own more than 10 properties from a tax sale. So we're still doing the piece that's the controlling piece, right? That's keeping property in the hands of Providence residents, making sure that we have a real pathway to build wealth among our city residents. And we will take on the online tax sale as we can in the future.
Absolutely. Anybody else on this? Councilman Roy.
Council President, question on, you had said that, no individual LLC could purchase more than 10 tax sales. How can we prevent, I know this is really difficult, but how can we prevent like shell companies, LLCs of LLCs?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Which
It's a
ends
great
up being the
question.
same person engage in this?
Yeah, I think that is kind of tough because it's just, you know, the whole reason why a lot of these companies do so is that it's a legal loophole and it's very hard to do their research. I think that the best thing to do is to potentially add some language that would allow for us to, you know, after determination of research and you seeing that, you know, it's a similar person owning multiple LLCs, that is a way that we could potentially go, but it is hard to, like, you know, find that language. It's something that, again, that's the reason why a lot of these companies do that, because they know that it's like hard legally to be tracked. So that would be my best answer, like, but then I know that it's not a great one, but I understand that concern as well. I just didn't find a construction that would immediately and succinctly address it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
It's really difficult. I can add to that, and it's hard to predict what people would do. We're only responsible for the things that we can put in place in order to avoid that. And I think it's a good step forward. That's all right.
Thank you. Question to the sponsor.
Sure.
How we can create more protection for the property owner? Because sometimes they put a tax sale and they send a bill, and maybe they send a bill to the wrong address. When they do a property tax sale, they don't send you a certified mail. They just send you a regular. What about this person is in the hospital? What about the elderly went to a nursing home because got very sick? And then they send the mail to the same address when nobody's watching the mail. Is any other resource that we can create in the same ordinance, like have the tax collector or the tax department to send somebody, knock at the door, and look for that particular person who's responsible for this property before they put in the tax?
I believe there already is a hand delivery as part of this. Is that not true?
I can't say for sure. if there is a hand delivery
We can
requirement.
certainly check. My thing, I think a lot of this we do in the budget this year. So like, I think not the mailing part, but like the circuit breakers for like making sure that we have like things in place for people who are elderly, otherwise incapacitated because they're sick, veterans, making sure that like, as we're doing the levy this year, we have a real way to handle exemptions for people, and that those exemptions meet like where we are in the world today. That would be my take on it.
Because, can I?
Sure. So,
Like 3 years ago, I saved a guy from losing his house when I saw the house in the newspaper. Because that's another way they put it in the newspaper, in the journal. Anybody get the journal?
Yeah, no,
Nobody read it.
that is a
So
requirement.
nobody reads the journal here, and they put it in the newspaper, and I was reading and see, oh my God, this house belongs to such and such. I call him up and say, you losing your house? He goes, no, I'm losing my house. Really? It's in the tax sale. So he started making phone calls. Finally, he recuperated the house. He was behind some taxes that they never got it, but he sent a check, got lost in the mail. And we have to look for different resources, how to notify your house going to be in tax sale, but not just a journal. Because nobody gets a journal in my area.
If I may just make a comment, and then I'll
No.
So Councilman, I think that, so when it comes to the whole, like, you know, tax sale, you know, process, it's heavily, you know, governed by state law. And as I understand it, now that you spoke to it, I know that that is a requirement that is in state law, that it is published in the newspaper, so folks are aware. It's probably antiquated now because a lot of people are not reading the newspaper. But there's nothing from a policy perspective that doesn't say that the city of Providence, we can't, you know, send certified. You know, without, outside of the fact that it will cost a lot. So that's the only, like, you know, balance, but the requirement in state law is published in the journal of, I forget the term, the just our regular publication, I forget the proper term that they use, but a journal of record,
Paper
journal of record.
General circulation.
Exactly.
Can I?
Absolutely, but let me just add, I don't think that. To have your house for tax sale, there is no certified notification. It's just, it goes to the journal and then the city will send you a couple of letters already, you know about that. I think the only time that you're required to send a certified mail is if the house was sold in tax sale. So they are alerting the homeowner that the property was sold at tax sale. And also if it gets to a point where it has to go to court, beyond the date of redemption, they will notify you through a constable.
Indeed.
But it's pretty complex.
Yeah, it's
May I?
That's what happens. And then.
After you.
According to the internet. And Rhode Island general law. And Rhode Island general law, the collector must send a second notice by certified mail not fewer than 40 days before the sale. So that's already in place. If they have the wrong address, it's not gonna work. But in terms of making every effort, publication and then posting, I'm not sure what posting means.
They post downstairs in the board, they post the
Oh.
newspaper thing. right
Okay.
On the board downstairs.
So posting physically and then first class mail not fewer than 90 days before the sale. And a second notice by certified mail not fewer than 40 days before the sale. Or the collector must personally serve you notice if they do not send it by certified mail. So, yeah.
I think we did change the charter. Last time we did it, I remember that we worked in the special, how to communicate to the people. And we say that we can use different sources, not just government, we can use radio or such and such, different ways to do it. We might have to review the charter then. Isn't
I
there?
can. Do you want me to look at it now?
Not now, in the future.
Okay, 'cause I do have it.
Thank you.
Like clerk should. I got it.
No, I think this is you know, I'm all about meeting people where they're at in terms of how we legislate and how we move policy forward. And I think that this is a good step in the right direction. And I'm looking forward to having the tax collector available so that if they have any sort of feedback to give us about how we can improve it, I'm all for it. So thank you very much for putting this together.
Small steps. That's all right.
So can this be amended again on the floor?
On the floor, probably not. For
If
first
it's,
passage.
if it's minor, not anything technical in nature.
What would you propose?
I'm really stuck on, I guess, Aaron raised a good point about a language around. Like if they're basically somehow looking into individual people behind LLCs, would that be technical in nature?
I think that would be technical in nature, right? That's one piece, but then secondly, I would say that from some members, I think that they've committed to meet with, the tax collector to speak about this issue further. And I think that probably is a good, topic to bring up, and we can come back to the table with that specifically. I think that would probably be the best way to go about this, but that's not to say that we're not looking at it. I just know that we do have an upcoming meeting, and I think that we can start to craft something around that at that time. Just a.
But if I may, Chair,
Absolutely, but this is a working document. It doesn't stop. If you can come up with a way, you can contribute to this. And you can go back and amend it again. Let's just get something. Yeah.
okay, I think that's fair.
So, yeah, we're gonna be doing some more work.
Okay.
Okay.
Aaron, you take note of that?
Yes, absolutely. How do we address these multiple LLCs? Sure.
All right, any further comments? Okay, so hearing none, I'll consider a motion to approve as amended. Second by Councilor Peterson, second by Councilor Wagner, so aye. Opposed, Okay, yes, have it, thank you. Item number 6 is approved as amended. So I have communication from the sponsor, number 7 and number 6. Number 6. Number 7, number 8, Councilman Goncalves cannot be here. They have both asked for these 2 items to be continued. So I'll entertain a motion to continue item number 7 and 8.
Second.
Mayor Council Peterson and second by Council Rivals, so say aye. Aye. Opposed, yes, average. Item number 7, number 8 are continued. No further business in the calendar, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Council Rivals, Council Peterson, all in favor, aye. Opposed, yes, average, this getting adjourned. Thank you so much.